my Veggie besties. It's Michelle. I'm on the road today, so I'm recording this introduction in Dublin, Ireland at the honestly marvelous Marion Hotel. We have a quick 20 hours, not even 24 hours in Ireland en route back to our home from Spain, and we were treated to maybe the best full vegan breakfast ever. I posted it on Instagram. So if you get over to Veg Your Best on Instagram, you'll find it. You know, my husband and vegan ally, if not quite fellow vegan yet, he ate every single smidgen on the plate. And I think I put that photo up on Instagram too. But since I've been on the road so much this spring, we have another fabulous interview with a guest that I have wanted to have on the pod since the second I heard about him. If you've ever been discouraged, felt discouragement about the idea about going vegan, or reducing food waste, I mean, we all just look at that idea and just think it's too complicated. It's going to be too hard, too time consuming. This episode might just help you feel more confident to flip that belief on its head. My guest today is Vojtech Vegh, professional chef, author, global consultant to hotels and restaurants on how to create zero waste kitchen systems. And get this, they're delicious. One of my favorite things he said during our conversation was, there's no waste in nature. Waste, says Wojtek, is a human decision. And I think that's such a good thing to keep in mind, because when we see waste not as inevitable, but as optional, it really can unlock so many new possibilities. Oh my gosh, are you telling me that there's mindset involved in this idea? Yes, it's the way we look, the lens we put in front of our vision when we're tackling questions and problems. And Wojtek doesn't just talk theory, he talks about real life ideas that are clever, simple, and tasty, because that's the whole point, right? From using broccoli stalks and watermelon rinds to helping chefs all over the world rethink how menus are created in the first place. And yes, I expected to be talking about sustainability and reducing food waste, but what I didn't expect was how inspiring, how empowering this conversation was going to be. Wojtek shows us how much of what we consider waste, it's not garbage at all. It's just food that we've been conditioned by our daily habits or by our culture to throw away. And so that's the mindset that we're learning about today. And we can maybe start practicing one kitchen at a time. And even better, they're not these fussy Instagrammable tricks that get you to look at them over and over and over. These are real changes anyone can start trying today. So whether you're plant-based or plant curious or just tired of tossing watermelon rinds and carrot tops in the bin, keep listening. You're never going to look at those peel stems and skins the same way again. Let's veg your best now with Chef Vojtech Vegh.
Vojtech Vegh, welcome to Veg Your Best.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, I've been excited to get you on the podcast for a while. I think I discovered you in the fall of last year, I think on LinkedIn, where I saw you share a lot about your work, and you've had a lot going on in the first quarter of 2025. And you're a plant-based chef. You talk about zero waste in hotels and in hospitality industry. And there's so many ways that we could start talking about, but I'd like to find out, first of all, how did you get into this profession?
Oh well, that was more of an kind of accident than an intention, for sure. Because when I was a teenager, that is the time when we choose our professions in Slovakia. That's when you have to decide for the college. I had absolutely no idea what I want to be, and definitely not a chef. I actually started my college studying as a waiter, but then I just wanted to kind of hide at the back of the scenes. So then I transferred to being a chef. And it wasn't until a few years later when I got the opportunity to do an internship in a five-star hotel and then another one, and another one, which kind of made me slowly kind of like what I do and like actual cooking and being in the kitchen. But even then, it wasn't because of the food, but I liked that thrill of working in the kitchen. I like that high-speed environment. I like that the kitchen life that was going on. So that got me hooked. And from there, I was just getting one job after another because it gave me the opportunity to travel the world and to see new places. So I kept doing it. Slowly made me fall in love. Might sound too romantic, but definitely got me into cooking professionally and actually enjoying myself in the kitchen.
So, like most of us, you take one step and you find yourself down the road somewhere you didn't even anticipate.
I would never expect that I will do what I'm doing today.
Well, I'm almost 66. I never, ever believed I'd be vegan. I never, ever believed I'd have a podcast. And here we are. It's a funny world. So I've heard you talk about it. I've heard you write about it. Your Instagram is incredible. It's so interesting. It's so engaging. I've heard you talk about no waste and sometimes or zero waste. There's no such thing as zero waste, but yet we still use the term zero waste. I think words carry a lot of baggage sometimes, and that people will tune out when they hear certain things. Sometimes people tune out when they hear vegan or plant-based. They tune out when they hear low waste or zero waste. I've heard when I was prepping for this interview with you, people were like, why do I want to eat waste?
Yeah, you don't want to eat waste because nobody wants to eat waste. But the thing is that there is no such a thing as waste, because waste is a human's decision. There is no waste in the nature. There is no byproduct in the nature. Those are all man-made things. So we create the idea of this is the main product, this is the byproduct. This is what I want to use, this is what I will waste. And this is where the word waste is coming from. So it's just because we decided that now like 30, 40 or 50% of my ingredient is waste. It doesn't really mean that it's really waste. I decided so. And what gives me the right to decide so? Well, nothing really. It just privileges humans to be able to decide this is waste, this is not waste. So whenever I'm presenting food or I'm talking about like eating something, I don't like to use the word waste because naturally it's not an appetizing word. Of course it's not. But at the same time, just because I'm eating my vegetables and fruits in their entirety, it doesn't mean that I'm eating waste. I'm just eating what the nature has given me, in fact.
So this is such a I think this is the entry point. These are just mindset ideas that we get used to. And if you learn to cook, maybe next to your mother or your dad, you learned a set of choices to be made with the ingredients. And sometimes those choices were based on the equipment they had in the house, not because the food was not delicious or useful, or there was just a certain ignorance that there was nutrition to be gotten from certain parts of the food. So tell us how, I know your work is aimed at large scale chefs, where they have more opportunities to use a wide variety of things and learn how to make them delicious. But tell us what you help chefs learn.
I help chefs learn, first of all, the different mindset, because there is so much food waste that can be reduced only by changing the mindset. And it's at the same time is the easiest and the hardest thing to do. So we always start with the mindset and reframing the things that we are doing and how we are doing them. And in the second place comes now what we're going to do about this in practice. So then the practical steps that are going to be taken, and that is about how we can use this, how we can use that, how we can make it operationally efficient and incorporate it into our day-to-day operation. But what I don't do is that I don't really teach chefs how to cook, because the chefs know how to cook. I don't need to tell them. It's about how to use things that I haven't used before, how to incorporate them into my menu, how to turn them into something more valuable than what it was before or what it could be, how to make it in a way that is not going to take more time away from me, how to make it really easy for my staff, and most importantly, how to make it my new normal in the kitchen. So we don't want to do this as a one-off thing, I'm going to do this next month. I want to look at how we can create a new normal, how to make the food waste prevention the new standard in the industry, so everyone will be able to make it through every single day, not only when they have extra time, not only when they feel like it, but to make it the new normal. And that is the combination of a mindset change and the practical steps that can be taken in any kitchen.
So that sounds like like it must be a tall order for some chefs who have, or even some home chefs who have, for years, decades, they have certain reflexes built into how they get a meal out on the table for their diners or for their family. And at first, when I heard about your work, I was thinking, is this all soup? Is this all keeping the scraps, the edges for soups? And then I was thinking, oh, I hope it's not all like making foams, like things that we're not used to eating. So give me an idea of how it's beyond soup, right?
I don't think I've ever done soup. Yeah, I don't think I ever done soup or any of those. I probably done foams because my background is from fine dining. But if I would cook you a multi-course dinner, you would not know that it's zero waste. You couldn't tell that there is anything different about it or something special. And I give you like the simplest examples that I do is doing the things that we are already doing, but incorporating those potential byproducts and trimmings into them. For example, in so many hotels or in kitchens in general, you're gonna find things like fritters, or like Indian bhajis, for example. You're gonna find chutneys. You're gonna find pancakes, all the regular things. You're gonna find the curry or stews, all of those stir fries, easy thing to do. All of these things and the products give us an opportunity to incorporate those byproducts back into production. So you can take for example, watermelon rinds, chop them up, put them in stir fries, put them in the Indian fritters, for example. You can take your leftover bread, you can blitz it up and make a pancake batter from it. You can take your carrot peels, chop it up and make a veggie burger from it. You can take your beetroot, you can list out all the vegetables and fruits, everything. You can make coleslaw from cauliflower leaves. You can grate up your broccoli stalk and use it in stir fries, or use it in stuffings. Make dumpling fillings from it. Use it in spring rolls, for example. And millions and millions of ways, and I'm mostly looking at things that are already being done. So I'm not trying to invent like brand new products from like broccoli stalk, cauliflower leaves, because there is simply no need to. Like a cauliflower leaf is basically just a cabbage, and a broccoli stalk is just an extension of the broccoli. A watermelon rind is a product similar to a courgette, a zucchini, or a cucumber. So you can use it in similar ways. So this is the kind of thing that I'm trying to break down with professional chefs, is that, cool, now you got an ingredient that you were previously not using, but there is no need to invent a bunch of new recipes just because of that ingredient. But look at easy ways of ingredient swaps in your recipes. If you are already using zucchini somewhere, then can you swap that zucchini for watermelon rind? You can do like watermelon rind tzatziki, like the Greek yogurt dip that's typically done with cucumbers, but you can take half the amount of cucumbers and replace it with watermelon rinds. The opportunity is in almost every single product that you have on your menu or in your kitchen in general. This is not limited to the hospitality world. This can be done at home as well.
So that is ultimately mindset. That is just looking at things in a new way. And I love that you're saying it's not being particularly creative. It's just being open to using what is already right in front of you on your cutting board.
We are all creatures of habits. So we have certain habits. For example, like what percentage of people actually eat potato peels? Or what percentage of people actually eat banana peels? Fraction of all the people. And why? Well, because it's how it always was done. But there is no such thing as always. Nothing was always done. So if someone came up with it, someone turned it into a new normal, and this is what we got used to. And so you are born into something, you pick up certain habits as you go in the industry or not. So this is how you do things. But what if now you have like a bucket of potato peels, which are, by the way, full of flavor and nutrition. So they are perfectly fine as an ingredient, and use them for something. But for me to be able to use them for something, first, I have to stop using the word waste attached to that ingredient, because I'm not trying to upcycle it. I'm not doing it for the purpose of reducing waste. I'm doing it for the purpose of creating a new delicious meal, of which the byproduct is that I will also reduce my waste. So for me as a chef, my motivation is culinary creativity. So I want to explore new textures, new flavors, and new potential in every ingredient, of which a good, nice side effect is that I will also reduce my food waste.
And why do you think it's essential that we consider food waste a little bit more?
I think that food waste really got out of control over the last few decades. Like there always was some sort of food waste, a little bit, and there is always going to be some. But I think we just really got out of control, like wasting left and right everything, being completely like mindless with the amount of ingredients that we are using. And this is particularly visible in the hospitality industry, where products are just coming in every single day through the door into our kitchen. Nobody knows, nobody's asking where they're coming from, how much is there left, and all the cost attached to that as well. We are just going through kilos and boxes of ingredients every single day, being kind of lost the connection to the ingredients. So we are just wasting and wasting and wasting. So where is the limit though? And nobody puts a limit on it. Like, okay, oh, whoa, like this is too much now. Let's stop there. You know, we are just wasting more because we are, especially in the Western world, we live in a world of abundance. So we can have anything at any moment, anywhere we want, whenever we think of it. But this is not how the world works. This is how we created world ourselves in this part of the world. Because of the capitalism, etc., everyone is driven for profit, which is fine. I get it, but it doesn't mean that now we can be going through ingredients like a mindless person wasting everything. Because that, the waste that you create is it's not like the fact that you waste the ingredient, but what is going to happen to that waste. It's also very damaging to the environment, that food waste that is created. And on top of that, for me as a chef, there is so much flavor and nutrition in that bin. So why would I not want to use it as a chef? It is my job to make my meals as delicious as possible on every single plate. And this is what I want to do every single day.
I know in business, sometimes there is what is the word? There is a concern that food be extremely consistent, that the customer is expecting something to look the same every week that they go to a place or every season. And so I think sometimes it's done in a way of, well, no, they don't want to see that. My customer doesn't want to see it looking different. They don't want to see different colors or different textures. They don't want to see that stuff popping up. But I feel that some of the most intriguing food lessons I've gotten have been at restaurants. Like, for example, you talked about cauliflower at Misnon in Paris, when they serve the big roasted cauliflowers, beautiful roasted. The leaves are all, maybe not all, but all are attached, a lot of the leaves, and they're delicious because they're charred and they're just delicious. And so you go, oh, I've been cutting those off for 50 years. So talk to me about how a chef can actually be very part of our education to appreciate these ingredients.
So much of the trends that you have right now started from the chefs and started from the hospitality industry. Many people don't know, and most people actually don't know how all these trends started. So I always highlight to chefs that we as chefs are actually authority to the people in terms of the meal decisions that they're going to make and the food choices they are making. So all of these small influences that you can make as a chef are adding up and can turn into a big something. So absolutely, it's very important for chefs to communicate what they are doing, not necessarily with every single guest when they are sitting by the table, because not everyone wants to hear about what is on their plates, and they don't essentially even need to know every single detail. But it's very important that there are steps being taken forward to that, because it's just spreading out the knowledge, and it's spreading out the knowledge not only in the industry, but it kind of overflows to the general public as well. And it might not happen. It's not going to happen next month or next year, but a few years later, it is going to become the new normal, because the normal that we have today, has been created in the same way. So we can create a new normal in what is going to be used, but there is a balance between that. Yes, I want to communicate that as much as possible because I'm doing the right thing. At the same time, I don't need to overwhelm my guest with how much leftovers or byproducts I'm using on the plate. So there is a fine line between, how much I want to communicate for making best of the marketing opportunities as well, but at the same time to not overwhelm my guests. So I like the idea of yes, me as a business or me as a restaurant or hotel operator, I want to communicate my efforts. I want to make sure that the world knows about it and I can do my best, and chefs individually as well. I don't necessarily need to explain every single detail to my guests when they're coming to the restaurant there.
Because ultimately, they'll be talking to their friends at the table. The food will be put in front of them, and that's when they'll be intrigued by it, when they're biting into it, when they're tasting it, when they're talking to their dining companions. And they'll be like, huh, what is that? That's delicious.
You are going to have guests who are naturally curious, and they are going to ask more, and they are going to ask you questions. Some people don't care. Some people care a lot. So that is your opportunity to actually go into detail of how you prepare and what you prepare and why.
So, you talked about bananas and watermelon rinds, and I have to put my hand up as completely guilty. I don't think I've ever eaten a banana peel, and I don't think I eat way more into the rinds now than I used to. And we have 7 grandchildren, most of whom are obsessed with watermelon, and I know one of them said, "Oh, you can eat the rind," but I haven't seen him do that either. So there's a lot for us to learn from you. And should we first attempt to make the watermelon rind useful?
You have to separate the dark green skin from the rind. So the watermelon has essentially 3 layers. You have this very thin green skin, the outer layer. You can separate that, and after that, you are left with a centimeter or an inch of the white rind, which is the usable product. And after that, you have the red flesh. So you are essentially peeling the watermelon twice. So of course, if you are biting it out, then that's not usable anymore. But you want to separate that green skin first, and then have that white rind. It takes 30 seconds more, approximately. And from an average watermelon, you gain at least 2 kilos of free product that would otherwise end up in the bin. And it's something I do at home because it doesn't get any easier than that. I have a 4-year-old son at home. He only eats the rind. He seeks out the rind and he leaves the red flesh behind. So that is his primary product.
So that could not be easier. 0.
And you don't have to use 100% of it. It doesn't mean that now every single time I'm gonna buy a watermelon now, oh my god, now I have to do a watermelon rind something. But you can also keep it in the freezer, like I do. I like to keep everything in the freezer and use half of it. If you only use half the amount, you essentially reduce your food waste by 50%, which will always be better than not reducing it at all. So I always use as much as possible. If I'm buying a watermelon, you bet that there is going to be some watermelon rind stir fry, watermelon rind savory pancakes, or watermelon rind stuffing, or grated watermelon rind salad. There is going to be something, because it's healthy, it's nutritious, it's super easy to use, and it's essentially a free ingredient because you have already paid for it when you bought the watermelon.
I'll never look at it again the same way.
That's the intention.
Yeah, I know it is your intention, and that is what I love about it. I hope people will watch the Instagram, look at the LinkedIn. You have created a course, and that is aimed at who?
Chefs. That is professional chefs who are going to have the most benefit from that, because I have an online course for chefs, and that is covering the practical steps of how to implement this, make it operationally easy in the commercial kitchens, and how to change the mindset as well. So it's a combination of how are we going to look at how we're going to change the mindset, how I'm going to approach my ingredients, how to create like circular menus. So that means like using every part of my ingredient in a reasonable way on my menu. There are a few ingredients, a few recipes included as well, a bunch of supporting materials for chefs. So that's something that can help chefs take the first steps in their kitchen to start with the food waste prevention. And there are so many chefs who are benefiting from this and making their first steps in the kitchen.
And is it driven, do you think, more by individual chefs who find themselves with these huge scrap bins at the end of the night and are feeling, I don't like that? Or is it driven more, are the businesses getting your course to put in front of their employee chefs?
It's a combination, but it's mostly businesses where it makes coming from business owners where it makes the most sense, because ultimately I don't believe that any employed individual should pay for its own training. So I encourage business owners to get their chefs enrolled in that training so they can benefit from it, because the financial benefit is going to be on the person who owns the business, not the chef. But chef is the one who has to take the course. So it's a combination of two. I do have a few people who are like super motivated and wants to do their best. After all, it's a very low-cost kind of investment for the online course, but it's very beneficial for the businesses.
So if you're a chef or you are listening and you are within 2 or 3 degrees of separation of a chef, get the chef to talk to the business owner, unless the chef is himself the owner. And what is the name of the course, Vojtech?
The name of the course is simply Online Food Waste Prevention Course for Chefs, but you will find it doesn't get any simple as that.
I love that. I love that. I love when people don't overcomplicate things. It's so good. So good. Help people help.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is.
And now you are a plant-based. Everything you cook professionally is plant-based. Give us an idea of what is that part of the same issue of waste, or is there some other different journey for you?
It's some people combine it. I don't really combine it. You can do zero waste and not have it vegan. You can do vegan and not have to be zero waste. So if you do both, then perfect. But it's not a requirement for that to do one of them. The way I kind of got to that is that when I was opening my restaurant back in the days, I knew it's going to be zero waste. That was the intention, but I did not plan it to be vegan. But because I was opening the restaurant in Cambodia and there was absolutely no availability for any organic, high quality meat products or any animal based products, apart from chicken eggs, I was like, well, I'm not going to be running an almost vegan restaurant with eggs on the menu. It doesn't make sense. I was like, oh, whatever, let's make it vegan as well. So that was a big challenge to be running like fine dining restaurant with like a 10 course tasting menu, have it zero waste and vegan as well. But it's kind of where I got started. I was always interested more in plants than in the meat. I never really believed that that's kind of how the dishes should look like. But it's where I kind of decided that like moving forward, I will only stick to plant-based cooking as professional, because I really do want to highlight that there is a lot more in vegetables and fruits than people think. And it's not a restriction, actually. I think it's an empowerment.
Well, I agree with you there. I never would have believed that 10 years, more than 10 years ago, that it is more rich than it is restrictive.
Definitely, because you promote your creativity, or you push your creativity by placing restrictions on that. So limitation breeds creativity, basically, as the saying goes. And it is really true, because it's only once when you are limited to a certain amount of ingredients and the things that you can use that you are really pushed to be creative. And I personally, as a chef, enjoy it a lot more than if I'm in a position where like I can do anything. I don't want to do anything and everything. I want to do this one particular thing that I want to do really well. And putting limitations on yourself really brings out the best in culinary terms.
So how do you, I know that this happens on plant-based journeys and vegan journeys, and I have seen all the zero waste influencers who I'm holding up. I have a coffee in a mason jar, but they try to have their month's worth of trash fits a mason jar because everything is being used or composted or recycled or repurposed. It can make you a little crazy too.
Mm-hmm.
How do we take it in a positive way? How do we look at it, that mindset? How do we make that mindset to be focused on improving and learning rather than, I can't do this, this is too much?
Oh, it's definitely too much if you try to fit all your trash into a mason jar. So don't start there. Don't try to do that. I always recommend everyone starting with one step at a time, because slow and steady wins the race when it comes to food waste prevention. You want to try, if you are new to this, you want to try one or two things at a time. See how it works for you. Use the byproduct here you haven't used before. Create new product from it. Incorporate it into your dishes. Do something. See how you like it, see how you enjoy the process, see how it works for you. Comfortable with that, move on to the next item. And applicable to home as well, applicable in commercial kitchens especially as well. Always start small and then move on to the bigger things, rather than trying to have this overwhelming idea of I have to go zero when it has to be zero. It's what I was trying to do in my restaurant, and I almost drove myself, maybe not almost, I drove myself crazy in the process. It's not healthy, and there is no reason to do that. There is no reason for you to become like zero waste overnight or in the next month. You want to make consistent, small, sustainable steps towards the bigger goal. That's how you actually achieve a goal.
Well, that's why the name of this podcast is Veg Your Best, because I'm not trying to make people crazy. And you have to do it in some sort of increments. Even the people who do it pretty much overnight, they're not doing everything overnight. They're choosing some section overnight. So we're not trying to give anybody extra things to do on their to-do list. We're trying to make this a beautiful choice and a creative choice. And I'm wondering, when you work with when you've had a success with an industry, a hotel or a restaurant, something that you feel like they've done a great job, what is their kind of workflow? Like, where do they begin? Because usually in hotels, which I think you concentrate a lot on, hotels have multiple chefs, they have multiple outlets, they have bars, they have room service, so they have a lot of opportunity, but it's also a lot of moving parts for them to implement. So good and tough. How do they tend to incorporate what you teach them?
In the same way, you always have to start with one thing. And I always recommend to start from the top. So that means look at where the majority of your waste is coming from, because that's where the most impact is going to be. So if you want to reduce your top wasted items or the biggest waste stream before you do something else, because that is going to actually make an impact. So it always requires a bit of planning. You want to have a plan. You want to know what you are going to do and when you are going to do it. But be only focusing on one thing at a time. You do that one thing because as you said, it's a large team, it's a large organization. So you are going to naturally move slower. Find that one thing that you can do and see how it works for you. Test it out on your menu. Hotels have flexibility with like banquet menus and in-room amenities, which can be changed in a moment's notice. So you have flexibility to do that, figure out how it works for you. Or even if you just do a staff canteen, it doesn't matter. Try it out, do something. Figure it out how it works. Your biggest opportunity is when you are developing your menu the next time. When you are working on your new menu, your new dishes, that is the point when you have to think about all the potential byproducts that you are going to create from your menus, so you can circle them back before they are created. So this is why I say that food waste in hotels is created in the chef's office, not in the prep kitchen. Because it is the moment as you're writing your dishes and menus, when you know what byproducts you're going to have, that's when you have to eliminate them, not once they are on your chopping board. So always taking it one step back, looking at the planning, trying out one small thing at a time, then trying out the second thing, third thing. When the time comes for the menu update, that's when you go all in and you incorporate all of these things and you create like kind of a circular menu for yourself, but taking it step by step.
Well, I'm going to ask you a couple of things and see if you have some ideas for me, because I'm thinking about I have a compost, which is the solution to a lot of awkward moments. And I'm thinking, what goes what fills up? You're saying, what is the biggest area of food waste? Right now, this week, we had a lot of watermelon rind. So I know exactly what to do there. I can really limit, I can really see how we can get a lot more from the watermelon. During the summer and even sometimes in Florida in the winter, corn cobs. Do you have an idea for corn cobs?
You can extract the flavor, and there is a lot of flavor in there, but you can't eat it. So you will never eat it because it's essentially like trying to eat a tree of wood.
Okay.
But you can take the corn cobs, assuming that you was, of course, cutting off the corn kernels and not chewing them off. Don't use them after that. If you are cutting them off, you can roast them slightly. You can roast them in the oven, give them a bit of color, or you can barbecue them to give them a bit of smoky flavor. You can turn it into a stock. It makes for a really nice stock. There is literally so much flavor in there. You can take that stock and either use it as a veggie stock or in combination with, or you can reduce it down and you're going to have this flavorful reduction or glaze. It's like a multifunctional item. So any stock that you can reduce down to reduction is going to have a concentrated flavor that you can then use in your sauces and whatever relevant. But that corn cob itself is eventually going to end up in the bin. It's good for smoking. If you are smoking like smoking meat or like smoking something in barbecues, you can use the corn cobs there, or just throw it in the fire or throw it in the compost. But you can add an extra step by taking out the flavor from that before you waste it.
That's interesting because I use if I know we're going to have corn a few days in a row, I don't throw out the corn water for a few days. So I'll just keep reusing the water that we've boiled the corn in, and then I use that often as a stock or as a flavoring in things. But so I love the idea of smoking it and then using that to make a more flavorful corn flavor. Is there a way for us to learn as individuals your work?
Probably. Well, I don't say no, that not at all, because part of what I do is applicable to homes as well. But I don't focus on home cooking or like how to do this at home. However, probably most ideas that you're going to find on my Instagram under my name and surname. And there are photos of plates with ingredients broken down into multiple different ways, which are applicable to home as well. And you're going to find more ideas there. But other than that, I don't create content specific that would be directed to home chefs.
But I was hoping you would talk about that because your Instagram's great. It's really very engaging. And I think most of us know someone who works in the food business that we want to forward those to. Make sure that they are aware of the kind of work that you do and the kind of doesn't look onerous. It doesn't look like something that a chef is going to go, are you kidding me? I'm already working 16 hours a day. I'm already missing time with my family. Are you giving me another job?
Yeah, it's never like that. And this is the first objection that I get from like everyone, like, I don't have time for this. And I always say, like, you don't need time for this because it's not going to take any time away from you. You are actually wasting more time right now by wasting the food that you are already cooking. So you could only save time by that. This is why I make a very big distinction in food waste prevention and food waste reduction. There's a very big difference there. Reduction is doing something or reducing something after you created it. So that is going to take more time. But we are talking about food waste prevention, reducing that potential byproduct before it is actually created. So it's always about planning. It's more about operational changes than how to actually use a byproduct. Because once I give you a bunch of examples, you can run with it. You can make it your own. That's the easy part. But it's about changing the mindset, having the system, having the plan, creating the menu in such a way that there is no waste. That's prevention. Because if I have a restaurant, and it's a completely zero waste, then the chefs are not working longer hours. The mise en place list is no longer. We are not creating more products. It's the same thing, because it's embedded by default into the system.
I think you just summed it up. It just in such a perfect, accessible way. I think I just want everyone to follow, whether they're professional chefs or not. Most of us cook, most of us eat. You're going to be just really interested in your LinkedIn, and especially I think the Instagram is really accessible for almost anybody. And I'm going to have your website, Vojtech, is
It's surplusfoodstudio.com.
surplusfoodstudio.com.
Yeah.
And you work with groups, hospitality groups globally.
I work, globally. I work global. I travel for work. I work mostly hotel chains, big branded hotels and contract caterers, but I also do occasionally independent hotels and businesses, restaurants as well. Anywhere where there is fresh food being prepared on site.
And before I let you go and respect your time, and I really do appreciate you having made time for us today, what's a cool thing that you have remember one of your clients has put together as a dish that didn't exist before and is now incorporated into that hotel's offerings?
Maybe not a particular dish, but I know that one of the clients got back to me that they started making banana peel miso, which is something I have never seen before. It's not a suggestion I made. I just gave them a few ideas. And a few months later, they were making their own homemade miso with banana peels, which I think really stands out as one of the coolest things.
That's great, because this is the case. You are working with people who are already chefs. You're just helping them to reimagine what they're using that they already use.
Yeah, exactly. There is so much that can be done, and once the chefs kind of get this and they can see the opportunities, they can create like really cool things that maybe not even I would come up with.
I love that. So I want everybody to keep focused, because you're going to be sharing things like this on Instagram, on LinkedIn. You have your course, and we're going to have all the information in the show notes. Vojtech Vegh, thank you so much for joining us on Veg Your Best.
Thank you so much, Michelle. It was a pleasure to talk with you.
So, what did you think about Vojtech? I love when we hear from guests whose lives unroll unexpectedly. And there he is, starting as a waiter in Slovakia to running a zero-waste vegan fine dining restaurant in Cambodia. Vojtech Vegh is stepping up to show leadership in his chosen industry and demonstrating what it means to waste less without sacrificing taste or time or creativity. And some of my favorite takeaways: the idea that waste is a decision, not a default setting, that you don't need more time to reduce waste. And in fact, you might even save some time. And my favorite, that creativity thrives with constraints. That's a philosophy that makes plant-based, zero-waste cooking not just ethical, but exciting, creative, so true in so many areas of life. So if you're a chef or know one who works in hospitality and want to learn more, you can check out Vojtech's online course at surplusfoodstudio.com. And for brilliant kitchen ideas, including how to use watermelon rind and banana peels and even corn cobs, you can follow him on Instagram at Vojtech Vegh. The links will be in the show notes, as always. And I'd love to hear what you think, or better yet, what you try after this episode. So send me a DM, tag me on Instagram with what you've posted, or just hit reply to this week's V-mail. You're getting the V-mail, right? Every Thursday, every week. You can sign up for that through the show notes also. Until next time, don't throw out those carrot tops and watermelon rinds. I'm watching. Just veg your best.
Veg Your Best podcast production, music, and editing by Charlie Weinshank. Thanks, Charlie. Before you go, it would mean so much to me and the Veg Your Best team if you would hit subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, or share with someone you think might be interested. Something about algorithms, it helps bump us up a little in the rankings, and that's the best way to help others find the podcast and for us to find our audience. So, until next week, make it easy and veg your best.